Hi, and welcome to Bodyholic. Today, I have the great honor once again to host my dear friend, Karl Sterling. He is the leading expert in Parkinson's training and the author of two fantastic books. The newest is Parkinson's Empowerment Training. And of course, the previous one is Parkinson's Regeneration Training. He is passionate about helping people with Parkinson's improve their movement, memory, cognition through exercise and neuroplasticity. Before we dive into our conversation with Karl, I want to apologize for a technical glitch we experienced at the beginning of the recording. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, the video did not work for the first couple of minutes, only my video. The sound is great though, and that is definitely what's important. And Karl's video works great. So now let's go ahead and dive into the conversation with Karl Sterling. A podcast that helps you weed through the social media noise and bullshit so you can finally get healthy and stay healthy for good. No fads, no quick fixes, just straight talk and real world strategies. Let's cut through the crap and get you the results you deserve. It's time to crush those goals. But hold up. Remember, this is for your ears only. It's not a replacement for professional medical advice. Use your head, stay safe, and always consult your doctor when needed. All right, let's get to it. Karl Sterling, I am so happy to have you here with us. And first and foremost, congratulations on your new book.
Thank you. It's always great to see you. And I'm really honored that you asked me to join you again. It's nice to meet Sarah too. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Karl, just maybe let's start with an inspiring story. So, and I'll be more specific. We've spoken, and you always have something inspiring to share. Like you have so many stories, and I've heard some of them. And your books really emphasize the importance of exercise and neuroplasticity in managing Parkinson's disease. And I wanted you to perhaps share a particular story that you have on your mind that you can really think of right now of someone who has been significantly impacted and benefited from this approach.
Sure. Thank you. Well, I have a business here outside of Syracuse, New York. That's in the central part of New York State. And it is called Neuromotor Training. And we do a lot with, let's say, fall reduction, Parkinson's disease, actually, it's really all humans because we all have nervous systems. We all have a brain. And we can have various things that will, let's say, affect those things and bring us down in our functionality, whether it's cognitive, memory, coordination, movement. But our job here is to restore all of that to the best of our ability. And, none of it's really all that complicated, but it also is a really great vehicle for creativity, which I need, or otherwise I'd pull my hair out, which you can see I really don't have any, but if I did, I'd pull it out because I need to be creative, but it has to be creativity that makes sense. It's built on concepts and foundational concepts and approaches that are proven to be effective. So, I can give you a story. I'll give you two real quick stories. I go to Mexico and I teach a lot. I was in Mexico 6.5 years ago or so, my first trip of 18 so far to go there and teach because nobody else goes there. I found out that nobody goes to teach there, so I do, as far as what I teach anyways. It doesn't make me special, it just makes me feel really grateful I get the opportunities to go there and teach. I was speaking at a conference, had my suit and tie on, I get done, and 5 minutes later I had to be on the floor for a workout. So I run into the changing room, I change into workout clothes, and I come back, and I had absolutely no idea what we were going to do because I just didn't know. It's my first trip there. Well, what are we going to do? So I asked
Mhm.
people, um, what is your first challenge of the day? A lot of hands went up when I asked, is it rolling over in bed? Yep. Okay. That's it. We're going to start with that. Let's start your day off better, starting right away. So we have about 55 people there. We decided I was going to do a workout called The Floor is Your Friend because the floor is our friend. We get on the floor, help some people down. And basically, it was to teach them how to roll over front to back, back to front, both directions. A lot of people struggle with this, and it's easier on a floor than it is on a bed
Mm.
because floors don't have give and beds do. So if you
Hmm.
the softer the mattress, the harder it is usually. So, we started in probably the easiest uh, place for that. And I look in the corner and there's this lady who I found out at the time was 42, been living with Parkinson's for 17 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a very early onset in Mexico. That's a whole different hour. But anyways, 17 years. Used to be a marathon runner. She's crying. I go over, está bien, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo te sientes? How do you feel? Are you okay? She says, sí, sí, señor. Well, I found out a little while later, I didn't know at the time, that was the first time she had rolled over without assistance in 5 years. And she had chosen to be mostly bedridden because she didn't believe she could do anything. So now that gave her hope, and hope can go miles. An ounce of hope based on one simple technique, which she just never thought of leveraging her limbs and body the way we taught. And I didn't even make this up. I'm not that smart. I learned this stuff from Perry Nicholson, who wrote the foreword for my first book, Primal Movement Patterns, like primal rolling patterns. Watch a baby. You have a young baby. I'm sure your baby's probably rolling over months ago, right? Well, I have
Yeah.
grandchildren. I have a 10-month-old, then I have three other ones too. Up
I
the
remember
oldest.
that
Yeah, so
my youngest is the same age as your youngest
yeah.
grandchild, right?
And my youngest granddaughter is rolling over and I watch this and I watch this is just how the body works intuitively. They don't think about this stuff. They just do. So we get stuck in thinking too much a lot of times and not really allow our that intuitive thing from whatever primal aspect of being human it gets short circuited by thinking too much. And so we just kind of dial it back, say, okay, let's put the leg here, let's push here, let's pull this, let's reach there. Boom. Well, I went back 2 months later and this lady was started running that day that I was
Oh my
there.
God.
And now she's done marathons since then. So, I mean, she went from choosing to be bedridden because she thought she had to be because there was no hope to doing a marathon. And then another story here in my clinic, lady comes in and I think it's late February, Parkinson's, low back surgery, cervical neck surgery, a lot of pain, um, wheelchair. After 2 weeks, she ditched the wheelchair. After 2 more weeks of using a walker, she ditched the walker. And since then, she just uses a cane. But, they didn't think she would walk again. And I'm not a genius. No, I don't really even know that much. I just know that there are things we can do. I learn from other people, and we have tools and techniques and strategies here that nobody else does around here, anyways. It doesn't mean we're special or we're better. We're different. I am a different kind of guy because normal just gets normal results, and I can't settle for that. So, I really love it when I see people starting to move better, people who don't fall down either as much or maybe they never fall down anymore, but they used to fall once a week or twice or three times a week. And this creates hope, and hope opens up doors.
I thank you for sharing that very much. That was so inspiring actually that it's kind of like who am I to ever say, I don't feel like getting out of bed, right? In comparison. Um,
You actually read the next thing on my list.
I did.
Yeah, it's called
I
pers it's called perspective.
absolutely. I do have to maybe backtrack and ask you to maybe give us a sense a little bit of what Parkinson's disease would do to a 42-year-old to make her think that she can't, or for 5 years, that she can't roll over.
Oh well, Parkinson's varies person to person. People oftentimes they associate it with the tremor. Not everyone gets a tremor though. Now this lady, yes, she did have a tremor
Hmm.
and still does, but rigidity is another thing a lot of times that enters into play, just really being so stiff. Freezing, like the akinesia, which is the defined as a temporary loss of voluntary movement. Bradykinesia is slowness of movement, postural
Hmm.
instability. So if you take all these things into consideration, along with the person, their personality, and their uh, spirit, let's say, of how much are they wanting to fight? What do they believe about the disease? What do they believe about their capabilities? What do they believe if their doctor says, something negative, like you're not going to be able to run again or walk again, or this is going to be progressively getting worse every year. But you believe that it's possible that could happen, even when you fight back against it. So there are a lot
Right.
of factors that come into this. And in her case, it was her belief. And her doctor, I don't really think that neurologists knew about a lot of the possibilities for helping people, and a lot of them don't. And it's not their fault. They just never knew because they were never educated on what they can do other than give a pill. So, and support from others or lack of support. All these
Hmm.
things factor in, and it just might end up like, well, I'm doomed. It's gloomy. I'm doomed, and oh, if they start moving less and they get muscle atrophy and then they're not as strong and they have more trouble getting, let's say, out of bed or up from a chair or walking around, or they're higher fall risk because they probably have less muscle mass, is a cascade of events that can lead to this kind of belief that I can't roll
Hmm.
over and I should be in bed. It's going to kill me. I give up.
Hmm. Hmm. So you're in the business of helping people believe in themselves.
That's a really good way to put it, Dee. That's pretty much the number one priority here is to get a perspective on where we're really at and what the possibilities really are.
Hmm.
The heck with what people say out there. You've got to,
Absolutely.
there's always somebody worse off than each one of us. And that yet there are people, not to shame anyone into this, because I have used this to shame myself, but I don't want to work out, which is pretty much all the time. But I just do it because I have to. I don't want to be obese again
Mm.
because I used to be. So the thing is people hire me to help them. And there are some cases where there is no hope, period, especially with something like multiple system atrophy, another movement disorder, which is
Hmm.
fast moving. It'll kill you. I think diagnosis to dying is usually somewhere in the 5 to 7 year range. But some people go faster. ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease.
Hmm.
ALS is horrible, but everyone's different.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
yet they're paying me. They're never going to take a step again. There's some people with all the hope in the world and all the faith in the world. It just ain't going to happen. There's no way. Yet they're still fighting.
I remember our conversation. I think you were mentioning the the atrophy.
Yeah, multiple system atrophy is horrible.
multiple system atrophy, where
MSA, yeah.
she you were with her until the very end.
I was. I talked with her husband at one point and said, yeah, I don't think there's anything I can do. She's not going to get better. And if you give me an empty cup, I'm going to still tell you it's half full because that's how much of a delusional optimist I am. But I choose this. This is my choice.
Right.
I know reality too, though. Sometimes we have to face it and try to put a spin on it that's something, anything positive. He says, no, you don't understand. She won't give up, and you're helping
Hmm.
her. And it was a complete perspective shift for me. She'd give anything to get up and take one step, even utter one word, because by that time she couldn't talk anymore. In fact, her eyes used to shut. And at first I didn't know. I thought she fell asleep. And then her daughter came in and said, no, no, no. Her eyelid muscles aren't working correctly
Oh,
now, and she can't lift up and open her eyes. And you have to physically do this. So it did. And there was a couple of times I said, hey, hey, you're sleeping on me. And then you could see her body move like
mm,
she's laughing. So
oh,
it was beautiful, actually. And
yeah.
I'd open her eyes, and I could tell by her eyes she was kind of smiling, but she wasn't giving up. I mean, I have a
Wow.
radio, I also have a radio show I do here every Sunday that's very, very popular called Your Health Matters. And I started doing it in January this year. It's the biggest station and whatever. I'm not trying to impress anybody, but the thing is, we talk about this stuff because there's always somebody worse off than any one of us. You know, I woke up on the right side of the dirt today, so that's a good start.
This is the second time I've heard the story because I mean, after all, I did mention it, uh, and it's the second time that I'm deeply moved by it, if that's possible. Um, your book talks about Parkinson's disease being a full body, multi-function experience.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, perhaps you could elaborate on how this understanding, or first elaborate about the understanding and also how it shapes your approach to this is the book, the Parkinson's empowerment training.
Mm. Yeah. So that statement comes from 2016 Portland, Oregon World Parkinson's Congress. Somebody said it, and I wrote it down because it makes sense. When we look at each person with Parkinson's, they may have similarities in what they're dealing with, but each person is affected differently and uniquely. For example, if they can't get started with walking, so this is, uh, uh, I'm sorry, sometimes I get tongue-tied. Okay, so let's go back. There are four classic motor symptoms that people usually talk about, but technically there are five motor symptoms. And we got the resting tremor, you have postural instability, bradykinesia, and rigidity. Okay, the fifth one is akinesia, temporary loss of voluntary movement. You may see a person with Parkinson's who wants to get moving, like they want to take a step. They know they want to take a step. They can't take a step because the message is not getting from the brain
Mhm.
through the central peripheral nervous systems to tell the muscles what to do and move that leg. We have things we can do to work on that to trick the body and the brain, basically the brain. But let's say it starts with that and they can't get moving, or they are moving and they come to, especially commonly, a surface change in the floor, whether it's an actual change or a visual change or a doorway or an obstacle or another person. Because of lack of dopamine in the retinas, this can create depth perception issues and contrast issues. So they actually don't know how far away they are
Mhm.
from the change, the person, the object, the doorway, whatever. So this can cause them to freeze up. And if their feet freeze, but their upper body didn't slow down yet, well, they're a higher fall risk. So
Mm-hmm.
if their chest, that keeps moving and boom, they go down. Um, mm, that can be enough to keep people from going out and doing anything.
Absolutely.
Maybe they are tremors always enter the body unilaterally, one side, always.
Oh,
Yeah. And then eventually they'll probably go bilateral. This doesn't, I didn't make this up. This is based on all research from the top dogs out there in the neurology world. Let's say they're right-handed or they're left-handed, and that the dominant side is where the tremor comes in. And now they want to go out to dinner and they're afraid of spilling food, the fork, the spoon, the drink, a glass of wine, and whoa, or maybe they have to learn on the other side, but that's not as coordinated. You'll see a lot of people try to learn to do something on their non-dominant side. But if they're bilateral tremors, and it depends upon their spirit, depends upon who they are and their mindset and how much they care about what other people think about them, meaning visually, like, oh, if I spill wine on my clothes, how much will I care? Well, if you don't care, you're probably going to be more socially active and you'll be out there doing things. Well, a lot of people do care. Oh no, I tried to eat some soup and it went down the front of my shirt and on my face and I'm all messy and oh, I'm embarrassed. I can never go out again. And this happens.
I'm sure.
So when I say full body experience, I really mean from getting up, moving around, navigating through a house, whatever, anywhere. Visual can be affected, coordination, depth perception. I mean, and your whole psyche that goes into how that makes you feel and how much you care about it. And
Mhm.
it's a really a life-changing thing for a lot of people, meaning everything changes. Like your social aspect of your life is gone because you're too embarrassed. There's a lady, I love her dearly. I've known her 35 years, Parkinson's. Her daughter's a doctor. I know her daughter well. I cannot get this lady to come in here because she's too embarrassed about how she walks and she can't talk anymore hardly. So, but Judy, we love you. I love you. I just love you as a human so much. You know that there's no judgment. I know, but what if other people see me? They don't care. They're going to support you. Oh, I can't do it. So it's really heartbreaking.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah.
Um, it really is. And you also describe it in such a way that like I'm noticing that I'm taking a lot of deep breaths because my heart really goes out to anyone who's dealing with this. And I certainly then, my inspiration is multiplied when I'm thinking
Mm.
of everybody who is showing up and is doing it. And you post videos and you talk about the things that you see on a daily basis in your, do you call it a gym, a studio, a clinic? What do you call
I
it?
I call it a clinic because in a lot of ways it is a clinical thing, and we
Totally.
do little pilot data studies here and white paper studies. So
Yep.
I,
So,
I have the same feeling, right now as we're talking because these things really move me. Like I want her to come in here. I
tell her
told
that
her
I also want her to come in there, please.
well, I also I know where she lives. I threatened to come over, but I'm not the kind of guy to just show up, because I don't like it when people do that to me. So, but I'm tempted to drive by one day. Hey, I'm here.
Right, right.
I'd love to add
Um,
something, Carl, is my father's got Parkinson's,
Oh, wow, I'm
um,
sorry.
but
I'm
he's got
sorry.
early stages, and his didn't start with the tremor in his hands. He initially noticed that he was very emotional when
Mm,
talking about things,
mhm.
and just slight notices with his walking. And then he went to his GP and he was referred to a neurologist. And that's when he found out he had Parkinson's. And the only thing that he showed me was he tapped his foot, like his right foot, just tapping. And then he tried to do it with his left foot and he couldn't do it. And then he did the same thing with his hands, just like tapping his hands on a counter. He could do it with his right hand, but he couldn't do it with his left hand. And then he went for back surgery. He had to have a second back surgery because the first one didn't work. It fused
Oh
his
no.
spine. So he had the second back surgery, and things just went downhill from there. My father is 74 and he had to learn to walk again. And I found that after his second back surgery, he really, really struggles to learn to walk again.
Mm.
I found that I think with the Parkinson's, it must have really played a role in him learning to walk again.
Yeah.
But he has learned to walk again, albeit slower. Um, but it's just affected his work. He's had to learn to work remotely. But it
Mm-hmm.
is being monitored by his neurologist, and he's able to talk and everything and to text, but he can't drive anymore.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. First of all, I'm really sorry.
I feel like, Karl, you were the second you heard back surgery, I saw you go, I saw that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's not because of the surgery itself as much as the anesthesia and what that causes in people with Parkinson's. So I'm assuming for the surgery, was he all the way under, like he was not conscious?
Yes, and he had a complication afterwards. He had to go into
Okay.
ICU.
Okay, so um it it's done. It's in the past. And a lot of doctors are not aware of the fact that when a person with Parkinson's or MSA or Lou Gehrig's disease or a bunch of other stuff go under general anesthesia, the time it takes them to come back out of that and be normal actually may never happen. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have surgery. Sometimes it'll save somebody's life, of course. But one of the things we find is this correlation between general anesthesia, especially in people with Parkinson's, and it can be devastating for rehabilitation. And it can just really make things worse where people never get back to where they were before the surgery. Now, I don't say that to create, well, hopelessness or anything like that, because there are always things we can do. But the best thing he could probably do is just keep on walking, man, keep on walking. And I mean, we could connect privately if you want. I've got a slew of things up my sleeve I could send to you and he could try.
This
Thank you so much.
reminds me of someone else, Sarah, you that I know who actually refuses, and Karl, things that you've already said, refuses to get up and walk. And he's also after 2 back surgeries as well. This you just clicked that memory for me. It really does go back to that mindset, the shift. You really advocate for the holistic approach to managing Parkinson's disease and the other diseases that we've mentioned. You get into physical, you get into mental, you get into emotional well-being. And I am interested in, like, what does a training session with you look like that integrates all that?
It's pure agony. No, it's not. It's actually usually a lot of fun. But we joke around that it's a torture session and this is a torture chamber. And because we do have a lot of fun here. Um, I want to go, I'm going to answer that, but I want to go through some of the things that I try to instill because this is what I'm going through in my life. And I don't, if we have, do we have 5 minutes maybe?
More than 5
More.
minutes.
Oh, okay, good, good. Because this might take me a minute. I don't want to hog the microphone.
You can hog the microphone, please.
Okay. So, on a different note, but this will weave into the conversation here. A month ago, my mother passed away, and it's been the most difficult time for me of my whole life. Um, and actually, that's all I can say right now, or I'll start to cry. And I don't want to do that on camera, not because I'm ashamed. It's just that I won't be able to talk about the other things. But one of the things that's happened from this for me, which I've been working on for years anyways, and helping people with to the best of my ability. I'm no, psychiatrist or anything, but is to examine where you're at, find out where you think you're at, and then shift your perspective if needed. Some people don't need it, some people do. And then maybe look at things like this. Oh, you have to come here and work out with Karl? Oh, I have to go. I, Karl, have to go and I have to work out. Oh, I have to work with this person. Oh, I have to do this. Or is it I get to work out? I, Karl, I get to work out. Oh, guess what? I get to come here every day. I get to come here every day. I do have to come here, but I don't think of it like that because it's an opportunity. The day is here and I'm in it. And right now I'm here. I don't have an hour from now. I don't have 5 minutes from now. I mean, I hope I do, but I mean, I can't say that I will. So now I get to be here. Do I have to work out though? No, but I get to. This is an opportunity to go over and pick up a dumbbell. This is an opportunity to do some kind of crazy balance board cognition stuff with the smart fit lighting system and thinking and fatiguing my brain and doing half of it wrong. But because I'm focusing and focusing and focusing and getting fatigued, the neurochemicals in the brain that create healing and better neuroplasticity and more solid connections between things, those chemicals are being activated during fatigue of cognitive fatigue or physical fatigue too. I have neuroprotective hormones. I have neuroprotective chemicals. I get to create those things. Like I get to do this. I don't have to personally, but I get to, so I choose to. So when people say, I almost canceled today, but I didn't. Oh, wow, I'm glad you're here. Why didn't you cancel? Well, because I get to come here. Really? And I get to work with you? Are you kidding me? You actually think that getting to work with me is special? Yeah, because nobody else does what you do. I'm not trying to impress anybody. This is a perspective I get to. There are people who want to, who can never get here because they can't do it. They either physically can't or they're in South Africa or something and they're just not going to fly here every twice a week. I mean, seriously. Or there's nothing like we are trying to go global with the brand. So we're working on that. Next year, we know it'll happen. I have a satellite office location in Nashville. So that's our first one. But get perspective. I get to do the things I get to do. And some of them I don't want to do, but at least I get to do them because I'm not dead yet.
Right.
So I look at it like this. I try to have people look at it like this because there's always somebody who doesn't get to do what you do because of something. Could be their mindset, but that's actually not real then. It's fake. If they physically can't, that's different for some
Mm-hmm.
reason. And then,
I just recorded a local podcast episode. I recently, due to all of the political issues, I also started a local podcast, and
oh, great.
we were talking about endorphins, and we were basically saying that there are so many keys to unlock our inner pharmacy.
Oh my gosh.
I knew you would
Thank you
like
for
that.
that one.
I knew you would like that. Yeah,
We are our own pharmacies.
totally.
When you say holistic approach, yes, there's a time and place for medications, though. I would never say don't take your medication. I'd say that
Mhm.
get moving and doing things
Right.
because we know 100% for sure, positively based on peer-reviewed research all over the place. When you get moving, whether it's walking, cardio of any kind, resistance training, this is newer to me. I didn't realize how much happens neurochemically from your muscles. They're a pharmacy too. So is the brain.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and actually who taught me that was Dr. Luisa Nicola, who I love. She's everywhere out there now in all the big shows, but she was on
Yep.
my show a couple months ago. And so we unlock all these neurochemicals, let's say, and hormones, and then they uptake the medication faster into your body.
Right.
So they're doing stuff in Australia with chemo. When you do chemo, you get done, you go down the hall, less than 5 minutes later, you're on a treadmill, you're lifting weights, you're working out
No kidding.
because the chemo gets uptake of chemo is so much faster. And I don't know the math on it, but something in my head thinks it's like 6 times faster. Don't quote me. I could be totally wrong. Maybe it's 50% faster. I don't know. A lot faster. And then the lasting effects of the medications are longer. And so
Which
the
is
fact that,
so important with chemo.
yeah, so you don't just get the chemo, go home and lay down on the couch and sleep. Well, maybe you have to. Maybe you can't. I don't know. But you got to try to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So we have people, they pop their levodopa pill 20 minutes, 30 minutes before they come here, and then they have a good session because they're in their most on state. And this is huge. So the holistic aspect for me just involves a combo with, medicine as needed. And hopefully you're
Mm-hmm.
being prescribed proper dosages and proper medications because there are a lot of misdiagnosis happens a lot here in the
We've
United
discussed
States.
this, and
Yeah.
I can actually link the episode because we went pretty deep into this, and it's a very important episode. So I would actually highly
Yeah.
recommend people click. Yep.
So I don't want to repeat that here. We can talk about other stuff, but in my list of things, I think that really I'm going to go out there and I can say you can do anything that you want to do. It requires discipline. You may have to learn a lot of things, and it requires focus. Okay, we know that I am not going to go out and be an Olympic athlete. I'm not going to be, beating anyone on the tennis court like, Federer, Nadal, even though I don't know if they're retired or not. Anybody. No. So no, I can't do anything I want as far as that goes. But if you know what I mean, conceptually though, let's just say we want to do something that something better. We're probably going to be able to do it better. And it starts with having that goal, setting the goal, figuring out what is it going to take to get there. Do I need help? Can I afford to maybe hire someone to help me? Can I get online and learn? Maybe I don't need to pay for anything. Maybe I can find a $20 a month program or $10 or whatever. But finding a way to get yourself towards that goal and then making it non-negotiable. It's like I have what I call my non-negotiables. I'm an alcoholic. I haven't drank in years. It's not negotiable for me to have a drink. You get together, if I ever meet you in person and we go to a bar's fine. I don't care. It's fine with me. I'll have my club soda. It's not negotiable to me for me to have a beer or tequila or
Mhm.
anything. I go to Mexico, I don't drink anything. I can't. I get in trouble. I just wouldn't be right. I would kill myself probably, meaning not on purpose, just it would be bad. It's non-negotiable for me in the morning to not do my yoga. I do it every morning and I never want to, but when I do it, I feel good.
Mm.
Within a minute of doing it, I start feeling good because I need that energy.
Right.
It's not negotiable. These are non-negotiables. You have to figure out the things you must do. And you have to make an agreement and a contract with yourself
Hmm.
that if you break this contract, well, you just can't break it. You just have to do it. sometimes it takes support from other people and maybe community and
Absolutely.
accountability. I don't tend to need that very much,
It really is it's a
but for
personality
some,
type.
yeah, I'm just doing it because, well, pain. I try to turn any, I had blood clotting issues and I flatlined in Singapore and I was supposed to be dead and I'm here. Well, thanks be to God, I am here. I have now. I get to know you. This is a real honor for me. This is freaking
This is a
great.
real honor for me. We can argue about this.
This is so cool. I get to know you. Stefan Stilner connected us, I'm pretty sure. I
Yeah,
love
it
that
was
guy.
Stefan. Of course
So
it was.
the addiction can be turned into production. I mean, I spent 48 years being an idiot. Now the past 15 years, I'm not perfect, that's for sure. I'm so far from it, it's unbelievable. You know what, though? I'm not going to go out and hurt anybody, and I'm not going to hurt myself. I am going to do things to help people. It ain't about me, though. It's about we, because when we do better, we do better
Mm-hmm.
as a community and individually. 3 generations from now, nobody's going to know who the hell Karl Sterling is. And you know what? I don't care. I don't it's, I don't need anybody to know. I'm not so important. People need to know anything about what I did. All I know
Mm-hmm.
is that while I'm here, I am here to serve,
Yeah.
and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to serve myself because I've got to be healthy so I can be more for others.
Mm, exactly. It's a
These next
cycle.
generations are so we need to feed our generations with hope and teach with all the technology, which I love. I love it. I use AI every day. But guess what? I'm not so into it that I'm going to not hang out with my grandchildren and chase them around and tickle them and have pillow fights and all that. So, I mean, I love that. So you have to give to yourself what it what allows you to give to others so that
That's
do you can be kind, you can do it in the back to kindness, you can help other people because why not? The world's a
right.
better
And
place when we help.
you're also saying that it starts with you. It starts within. Um
Yeah, it does.
I
Become, yeah.
I
It's
wanted to
not wrong. It's not wrong to take care of yourself. It's right.
right.
It's right to give to yourself and feed yourself the nourishing things you need. I'm not even talking about the food. That's a no-brainer. I'm talking about the spiritual aspect, the mental, the emotional aspect. The people like you who I love, who will feed me and inspire me in your wisdom and your spirit is so beautiful and strong. Well, I'm better because of you. You make me partly who I am. So, I mean, I'm so grateful for this, but now I can go be a little bit more for somebody else. And it's so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. That's, I feel like this is also for caregivers. And because we're on
Huge.
the topic of Parkinson's, and there often is a caregiver involved, this is so important that if the caregiver reaches a point of burnout, that could be quite dangerous for everybody involved.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be talking about that on my show this Sunday. So,
Oh,
statistically
really?
speaking, yeah, statistically speaking, 70% of caregivers get depression. Um, they don't sleep well. They're on medications. They have health problems. A lot are overweight. They're not taking care of themselves. They believe that, some people, if they don't have help somewhere, let's go back for a minute. Let's
Okay.
take, let's take Val for a minute. Val doesn't mind if I use her name. She's the one who went wheelchair to walker 2 weeks, walker to cane in 2 weeks, and now she's walking without a cane sometimes. I mean, this is still, though, huge. She's not falling down hardly at all. We work on falling. Like, that's a whole nother conversation, too.
Oh my
So she'll
gosh.
almost fall but won't fall because if whatever happens in these walls here, this has to go out the door with you. So we make
Hmm.
people almost fall without falling a lot, so they learn how to recover. So it becomes reactive, like you just boom. You do it before you knew you do it, a split second before. But let's just talk about what happened to her husband. He doesn't have to push her around in a wheelchair anymore. And he doesn't worry about her falling as much. Guess what happens? He gained weight. He didn't get depressed. I've known him a long time, but he also wasn't that optimistic until starts walking again. Well, can I talk about a little a product here? I don't have an affiliation
Are
with
you
them.
going to talk about Reaxing?
Oh, I can. I was going to talk about Newgate.
No, tell
N
me
E
about
W
Newgate.
Newgait. Google it, go to their site, and then just check it out. We use that, and it's an amazing system. It helps the body to learn through being entrained through feeling of how you should be walking. Because all the verbal cues and all that in the whole wide world won't do a fraction of as good as entrainment through feeling. You get this thing on the person, it helps their body move exactly the way it's supposed to. That's what got her moving and countless others. Reaxing is awesome. We just did a neural program for them, so that'll be out next year.
I don't know if it was a reel or a story that I put on Instagram, but I love Reaxing. I discovered it in Cologne in FIBO.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Did
Oh
you meet
my God.
Chris?
And I
Yeah.
went to FIBO with very high heels because that's what people do.
I love it.
And I was like I'm taking these off, and I was barefoot and in my getup, and I loved it, loved it, loved it. And I know that you use it. I am all for talking about these products because they are game changers. They exist in
Well,
order to change people's lives.
yeah, yeah. So we can get to them in a second. I want to finish on the depression thing, a caregiver thing, because
Please.
Mike's a really good example of, okay, now Val's walking. Guess what this means? Mike gets a break. He doesn't have to take such care of her, meaning he can get out for an hour, go to the store. He can go out and do this. He can even go out to his garage, work on his car. He likes to work on cars. I mean,
Mhm.
and he doesn't have to worry about her as much because now she's more independent. And so a little bit of change on the person afflicted with whether it's Parkinson's or whatever they're dealing with, who has a caregiver, a little bit of movement forward, positive change can help the caregiver so much. So this basically there's a ripple effect that happens. And the positive stuff goes deep in the ripples. Co-workers, friends, family, it's cool.
It is so cool, and it is so true. And of course, we all view life through our own prism. So as a mommy, I had just given birth, and for 3 months I really went under. Also to do with the war, as
Yeah.
I'm living in a war zone. So it was all simultaneous. And then I started coming up for air. And then I started becoming extremely productive, and then
Mhm.
running to my kids for lots of smooches and hugs. And, it really is a ripple effect.
That's
It
a beautiful
really is, on so many
that's a
levels
beautiful
for,
thing.
yeah, for caregivers, for parents, I mean, it really is. Um, Maybe because we're out of time, and I actually, as usual, can just talk to you for forever.
Well, me too
Let's
with you.
maybe you have traveled extensively. You've mentioned it, and you teach. You wrote about this as well. You teach. You advocate for Parkinson's empowerment,
Mhm.
and because of the travel, can you share some cross cultural insights on how? Because you did already mention one thing in Mexico on how different communities approach Parkinson's disease management.
Oh, yeah. Boy, where do I begin? Let's start in Uganda. Uganda is a country where many people still believe that Parkinson's is contagious. So you'll see, for real, people out on the street, homeless, who were kicked out of their homes, and other people won't go near them, especially, they have a tremor and it looks like Parkinson's. Definitely not going to go near them because it's believed that it's contagious. Of course, we know this is not true. There is another belief too. This is a belief for real. If you have an argument with your mother-in-law, not your mother, not your father, not your father-in-law, your mother-in-law, you're going to get Parkinson's. These are beliefs that are so deeply rooted that even people who go back and live with a person with Parkinson's who don't catch Parkinson's, people, they just think they're lucky. So just think about that for a minute.
Wow.
That means that a lot of people aren't even getting treated because the doctors don't want to catch Parkinson's. There are some doctors who believe it. Now, most of them don't, but now you got a healthcare crisis, right? Can you get healthcare? Healthcare in Mexico is tough. Healthcare in Uganda is tough. Healthcare in Belize and El Salvador is just tough, man. I mean, people say, why do the Mexicans come to the United States all the time? All these criminals. Well, yeah, you got some criminals. You also have some beautiful people. I'm not for open borders, and I won't talk about politics because it's too crazy. And I don't know if I even know what the truth really is in a lot of this stuff. Where do you get truth these days? I have no idea. So I just live my own truth, helping people. But the thing is I do know this. People will come here for opportunity because they can get some care. Um, and I know this very, very well from people who've had family who've come here from Mexico because they can get care. They just want to have like anything, like a medication, something, anything,
Right.
some diagnosis. There are a million other reasons too why people come here or whatever. But the thing is the just think about this. Have you ever been to Mexico?
I have not.
Okay, so they're gonna say don't drink the water
Right.
because if you do, you'll get diarrhea. You get sick. Well, there's a reason for that. It's toxic. And if you do drink the water and then your system adjusts to it and you don't get diarrhea anymore, well, good. Except that now it's in your body and it's probably going to kill your brain eventually. The water supply is absolutely horrible. So people with enough means always buy and drink and cook with bottled water. Or maybe some I know who boil it and kill out the toxins, but I'm not sure they even get rid of all of them because there's so many. The water supply, the healthcare system is tough. So when we're looking at dealing with Parkinson's, um, is a multifaceted, multi-layered situation depending upon where you're at. And if I know Mexico really well, so I know this. I know if you drink the water, you're going to get sick. And after you get sick and get over the diarrhea, something else is going to happen. And it could take 30 years or 10 years or whatever, but that's really bad. You don't want this stuff in your body. I love Mexico, by the way. It's my favorite place to go. I just love it. So I don't mean this disparagingly. I love the people, love the culture. I've been
You mean it
adopted by
factually?
several. Yeah, yeah, I just love it. So I'm just looking at fact wise, you can't get a disability uh income. You got to be missing two legs, not just one. Oh, well, you still have one leg, so you can move around. I mean, this is the way it is. So,
Is this true?
oh yeah, this is totally true. Yeah, and not kidding. This is a fact. Okay, so diagnosis of Parkinson's is happening at younger ages in places like Uganda. The youngest I know of is a 14-year-old diagnosed with Parkinson's, Uganda. No, I'm sorry, a 9-year-old, and then 14. And that's because of toxicity in the environment. The water has a lot to do with it. When you look at a lot of the jobs in these places, like in Mexico, there's a lot of mining. Mineral mining is really, really, really big. And with all the welding and the magnesium sulfate and all the toxins from whatever's going on underground, I mean, the cancer rates, the Parkinson's, the brain damage. It's really bad. And that therein lies a large part of, let's say, the reason that the average age of diagnosis in Mexico is much younger than the United States. So that's one of the things I see when I travel.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not unusual
Oh,
to see a 30-year-old with Parkinson's. Every time I go and I teach, I have late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s at my workshops.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Um,
And I don't want
that's
to keep you too long. I have
no,
another.
I'm just honestly, I'm imagining the 9-year-old. That's just, it's
Oh,
so
it's
hard. It's so sad.
yeah.
So basically you're going to these places and you're creating change.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, we want to help them get up out of bed in the morning, teach them to roll over. I have this informal assessment that I do. I made it up. It's the only thing I ever made up in my whole life, I think. It's called the Take Me Through Your Day assessment. I do it with everybody. You open your eyes, first thing in the morning. What's your first challenge? Oh, for some, it's rolling over, and then it's sitting up, and then it's standing up out of bed. Oh, for some people, that's no problem. They get to the stairway, and now they got to go downstairs. That's a
Mm,
problem.
mm,
Or maybe they have to go up a couple of steps. That's a problem. Who knows? So we want to take these things and we want to teach methods, techniques, strategies to help make it better, to conquer these challenges. Don't let them defeat the person. There's usually a way to do it, at least for a while. And then, of course, by slowing disease progression, the best way for any kind of brain-related, let's say, neurological disorder or movement disorder, is get moving. Please, everybody. I never want to move, but you gotta move and do
absolutely.
it preventatively too. If you don't have Parkinson's or any problems, thank God for that. Okay. And you get to move.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
I get to go take a run. So guess what? I get to do that. I might as well go do it for at least 10 minutes.
on that note, want to thank you so much. Say amen to what you just said. And
Thank you.
I also want to thank you for being one of those, don't get angry at me for saying this, but really being one of those exceptional lights in the world. So thank you. And
Well, I feel the same way about you.
hey, thanks so much for tuning in. And if this hit home, please share it with your crew. Likes, comments, shares, show your loved ones you care.
A Bodyholic production.